New Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 Elite Assembly. Bigger, hotter, heavier, and now even smarter. For some of you that have been watching, you know I have the standard Pro 1600, and that's always been a great pit. But I'm excited to see if this stainless steel model can outdo Baby Huey. So grab a wrench and a screwdriver, Justin. We're gonna amplify some backyard barbecue fun. The first thing that I noticed when I was stripping down this pit is that they listened to me and they did the ricer update. We have stainless steel grates now. That makes cleanup a lot easier compared to those diamond cut, porcelain coated grates. Good job, Pit Boss. I also noticed there's not a lot of different sizes of hardware, and that makes it super simple because you don't have to look at the package to make sure that you're picking the right bolts or nuts. This is by far the shiniest Pit Boss that I have ever seen. It's all that stainless steel. Let's get this 1600 Elite put together. The only tools that you need is a Phillips screwdriver and a crescent wrench. Now you are gonna need 2 people to do this assembly because this thing is very heavy. The complete grill weighs 245 pounds, so 250. I like rounding things up. I only weigh like 260 pounds. Well, maybe I round down a little bit. Now you always put the bull on the heavy side. Start picking it up. And make sure you're grabbing this hopper lid because it's gonna come over. Now a lot of you are gonna be doing this on the floor, but I'm doing it up on my table because it's a lot easier to show you how to assemble this. And we'll just kind of center it out a little bit and voila. Now I'm gonna take out the burn pot because I did find out from Justin Auto that he took off the burn pot and it was a lot easier to put on your legs. Thanks, Justin. So we're gonna start with our bottom legs. It's 13 and 14 and you have to grab the hardware of BCA. So that's gonna be a bolt, a washer, and a lock washer. Now there is some assembly acquired because you're gonna have to put the 3 of them together. Start with the first leg and that's number 13. And that's gonna go down on this bottom right-hand front side. The bolts go right through those pre-drilled holes right in the bottom of the chamber. Start them off and get them finger tight. And then take your screwdriver and get them snug. Now do the 2 closest to the hopper and that's 11 and 12. Now the top ones, just get them kind of finger tight because you gotta adjust them a little bit because our next step is putting on the bottom shelf. So grab your shelf and you wanna make sure that you have the flat side towards the chamber. We take it and we get it in the bottom legs and there's grooves cut out in here. And then the top ones, push them up a little bit right over the top and they'll fit right into those grooves just like the bottom part did. Get your bolts lined up. You might have to twist the legs just a little bit to make them line up. And what I mean by twist, you might just have to push it here a little bit or pull it here. It'll work. Be patient, don't lose your temper. And of course, snug them up nice and tight. Now it's time to put on our casters, but you have these spacer plates that have to go in between the leg and the caster. Now you have 2 sets of these plates. You have a 15 and a 16. Now the matching numbers, they go on diagonally from each other. This little edge will be on the outside. So one will go here and one will go there. And to know that you've got them right, you'll see the threads through these pre-cut holes. Now take your caster and your 3 bolts, take 1 screw, put it through the hole, line it up. Get it started. Now just repeat with the last 3 and get them nice and snug. Last thing I'm gonna do is put the fire pot back in. Make sure you got this little hook up towards the clip. Goes in, slam it up. Then just take your clip, lock it into place. All right, now it's time to do the heavy job and you need 2 people. I got a half of 2, equals kind of 1. Close up our lid because that's gonna slam down when it comes time. Take it off the table. And also watch out for the hopper lid when you flip it over because that's gonna make a big noise. Now you guys are gonna have to hold hard. You don't have to hang up here. I got this whole end now. Grab it, got it. Okay, keep on going. Got her, there we go. There you go. That wasn't too bad. Now this pit's gonna roll around really nice because these casters, they turn in 360. You don't have the 2 stationary ones like you did on the old 1600. These casters, you can lock them in place too, which is really nice. Just step them down, and if you wanna unlock them, pull them up. Now it's time to put on our handle, open up our lid, The handle has these nice little lineup pegs, and this one's a little beveled so you can slide it around a little bit. Get the lineup pegs in, and then just take your bolt, stick it up through there. And repeat on the other side, get that one in. Take your Phillips screwdriver and get them nice and tight, because there's nothing worse than a loose handle on a lid. You want it nice and tight so when you're closing up your lid, there isn't no slop in it. Now we're gonna get our tool hangers on our side shelf. This is so easy. The boys told me I could do this part. And if you want to and you have the right size Allen wrench, you can snug these up too. Grab the 25 and 26 brackets for your side shelf. And this is a great new feature because this is also a drop-down shelf. Make sure that you have that peg sticking on the bottom. And that square little cutout is at the top. Now mount your side shelf to the pit. Take your shelf and you're gonna straddle over your brackets for right now, just to have temporarily. Now you're gonna need your EGBF parts, and you'll take your E or your bolt and go inside out. So we'll put our bolt in, then we're gonna put our little slider or spacer, and then your washer, and then your nut. It's actually called a bushing. I knew that. I called it a spacer. Gotta put your front shelf on, and yeah, still engraved. I know, and I've answered it a million times. I know you can take this thing off, but it's one thing that I don't actually want to take the time to do. I want to take a soapy rag, wash this off, and get to cooking. Just like on the side shelf, you got to put on these brackets with your angles pointed in and the peg on the bottom with a square on top. Now, unlike the side shelf, this one you're gonna have to hold when you're putting together. Take your shelf and set it on the pegs, then take your bolt, get it through that hole, get the square locked, and this will hold this shelf temporarily. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Then take your bushing, your washer, and put on your nut. Now we'll open up our lid, we'll put on our diffuser plate, and this notch goes towards the hopper end. Obviously, this won't fit over that auger unless that groove is to the left. And there's a couple little pegs that this will fit right into. Now it's time for the flame broiler, and these two little notches, they go on the left side towards the hopper also. You're gonna wanna put this in at an angle. It'll slide in, and there's a little catch on the left-hand side that'll hold this up so you have that correct angle. Then put the top cover on for the flame broiler. This is also slotted, and you have two pegs, and it just fits in just like that. Now hook up your handle for your flame broiler. You gotta take your knob off first, and then we stick it through this grommet and put your knob back on. Take your handle and get it through there and close up this little catch. That's it. And you can see that's how you open and close your flame broiler. Now take your heavy duty stainless steel ricer grate, put it in the pit. Now that just sits in there like so, just on the bottom shelf, and I love it. It's all one piece. Now we got our middle shelf, and make sure that you have the rods on the bottom. That just kind of goes up here on an angle, like so, slides in. And finally, the last top shelf. Same thing, keep it on an angle, get it underneath that little catch, slide it back. Close up our lid. As long as I got the pit facing this way, let's hang our grease pail. Now we can rotate it around, and the last thing we gotta do is put on the rack hanger. It's even stamped rack hanger. Now the bolts, they were already inserted in the back of this. Get these spun on. The only thing about this rack hanger is it can only hold one of your racks. And typically, I hang the middle rack and leave the top one in the pit. So maybe for the 1600 times 3, I'm hoping they put an extension so you can hang both those racks, because where do you put the other one if you don't want it in there? And before I forget, they send you 2 meat probes. And you can store these little things right on top of the hopper if you want. This assembly went pretty smooth, but I suggest that you have 2 people because this pit is pretty heavy. Well, that's all I got. Roll the niche. You're listening. Just listen.
Hey, don't smile. Don't smile.
Yeah, no smiling. Serious stuff right now. No smiling, both of you. I'm serious. Now you're not gonna wanna tighten these all the way because we have to put the shelf on next. So just leave them kind of loose, especially the ones that are on. God. No, it doesn't have a stack. But I think in its past life, it was on a female swim team. Huh?